Sufficient Grace Ministries provides support for families walking through a perinatal loss and those who have a life-limiting diagnosis in pregnancy. So families who face a miscarriage, a stillbirth, a neonatal loss, an infant death up to age 3. Throughout the state of Ohio, we actually send comfort doulas and remembrance photographers to come and walk alongside these families to bring clothes to fit their babies, mementos, memory-making items, resources and books, a baby book to say, this baby matters, a place for them to write the dreams they had for their child. So we provide those kinds of resources in person in the hospital. Part of our job is to think, what do they need? What are they going to need for this experience? What are they going to need, not just right now, but in a week, 2 weeks, in a month from now? Because we can't take the grief and the pain of that moment, but we can alleviate those regrets that are coming for not knowing that you had an option to get your baby's footprints, to have an outfit that fit your baby, to have a little tiny diaper to fit your baby. So our comfort doulas bring all of those things so the family doesn't have to go looking for them. And we provide support through the birth, afterward, online, some of our families even months and years later. In addition to supporting families in person, we also ship resources all over the world to families. We've done that since 2004, and we provide perinatal loss support education for birth professionals in compassionate care that's patient-centered. So we want to focus on what is important and helpful for these families. It's our calling at Sufficient Grace Ministries to provide love and support to any grieving heart in front of us, no matter how they came to be that way.
I think without Sufficient Grace, we wouldn't have any kind of tokens or memories to physically hold on to. Kelly was with us, and she bathed our baby. Her name is Clara. She took the time to bathe her. I was too nervous to bathe her because her skin was very delicate, and I didn't want to cause any more harm to it. So Sufficient Grace, took the time to bathe our baby. They took pictures of us and created those memories for us. They did canvas and took the handprints and the footprints. They took
They brought outfits and stuff.
Outfits. So it was little hand crocheted outfits that I don't remember. Somebody within Sufficient Grace does them. And so she brought a couple outfits, and thankfully she brought a big one because Clara needed it. And then, they brought the bears. And so our Clara, we buried her with a little miniature bear about yay big. And then we got a matching one this big that we actually still sleep with every night. And that has been the comfort bear.
At 4:51 p.m. on Tuesday, December 22nd, we welcomed Lincoln James Thrasher into our world. He was absolutely perfect. He was put onto my chest. His tiny body lay on my skin. I could see his heart beating. In those sweet 18 minutes of life, I felt peace overcome myself. And in room 1, those 18 minutes were absolutely beautiful. Greg, my mother, as well as his mother, were present in the room during the delivery, and of course, Kelly from Sufficient Grace. The grandmothers shed tears of not only sadness, but happiness. Happiness that they were able to be there to witness the life of their grandbaby. At 5:09 p.m., Lincoln had been pronounced deceased. I looked over at my husband, and his tears poured down his rough, stubbled cheeks. The next few hours, Kelly helped us to bathe Lincoln, to clothe him. We put a choo-choo train diaper on him, along with a powder blue swaddle wrapped in a beautiful knitted mint, powder blue, and white blankie that matched his hat. Those 5 hours spent with our heavenly angel we will never get back. We rocked, we sang to him, and prayed over him.
I heard about Sufficient Grace from one of my coworkers who had mentioned it to me, and just said it would be a good resource to look into. At the time, I was like, okay. It was a shock when we first found out. So it took me a while to look into a lot of the resources that we had. And then when I joined some anencephaly groups on Facebook, they connected me with one of the people that work here. And she talked to me, and at the time I'm like, I don't even know what a doula is. Like, I don't know if that's what I want. I don't know what to do right now. And so she was kind of just like, all right, well, I'm here if you need me. If you just want to talk, you can come in. So that's what I ended up doing, and it was a blessing, you know, going to the meetings with me and being like a support person for me, because I didn't have a lot of the support at the time when we first found out, because it was unknown. Nobody knew what to expect, and I think just having that extra reinforcement and someone to walk alongside me so that I wasn't alone really helped. From Aria's birth and having her footprints and handprints and pictures of her has brought me a lot of peace, because I only got 3 days with her instead of, you know, a lifetime. And so it's good for me to look back on those, to remember that day and to remember, you know, what she looks like. And she had my hair, and she had, you know, my son's nose, and she looked like her dad. And it was, for me, seeing her, I saw her for who she was, and I saw her as, you know, my baby. And
with the diagnosis, we were given some resources from the hospital that were, I think, very similar to what Sufficient Grace offers, not as in-depth, but just kind of standard procedure for the hospital. And we were told about Sufficient Grace through friends and family and just the community, and with Kelly being in our community, you were well known, unfortunately. But I think we were just kind of at a place where we were angry and mad that, you know, we even had to talk about this. So you reached out, and we really didn't want it. But I'm really glad we did. Biggest things was that Sufficient Grace helped us celebrate him in a otherwise circumstance that I think normally people wouldn't necessarily celebrate the pregnancy. When I actually think back to that day, I think of just the peace. And I think, you know, God being there, and you guys, you helped our families, you know, go through the whole process, and you just had everything laid out. It was just perfect, and as perfect as it could have been. Sufficient Grace kind of gave us the opportunity to talk about it, because, you know, I feel like society is finally opening up a little bit more about these babies, and the fact that, you know, they are worth celebrating, and that it's okay to admit that, you know, things aren't going the way they should. So I think Sufficient Grace just really helped us kind of come together during such a difficult time.